Throughout my many years of playing the Legend of Zelda games, I have always come across things that surprised me, scared me, and at times even moved me. On the outside, these games are just fantasy adventure video games made for our entertainment, but on the inside, they actually have a substantial amount of depth and life to them. From truly heartwarming moments such as when Link saved Colin from being captured and potentially murdered by King Bublin, to more bitter and upsetting moments such as leaving our beloved companion and now friend Fi at the end of Skyward Sword, as Fi for the first time shows some true human-like emotions after being robotic and artificial for the entire game. To one of my most personal heartbreaking moments, saying another tragic goodbye to our dear friend Midna at the end of Twilight Princess, and seeing the only pathway to seeing her and talking to her shattered before our very eyes. The series certainly has a lot of emotion pumped into it, and at times some of the most everyday and simple things within the games have extremely deep meanings. Sometimes you don't even realize these meanings or messages until you're older, and this is certainly the case for me. Majora's Mask is undoubtedly the darkest game in the entire series, and holds a lot of dark moments, secrets, and for today's video, symbolism. Assuming you saw the thumbnail or read the title, you will of course know we are going to be talking about the Garo Master found in Majora's Mask. This agile foe appears just like any other enemy would, but upon defeat, we are shown one of the most interesting and unique deaths in the entire series. Unlike the everyday passing of an enemy in the Zelda series, the Garo Master literally blows himself up right in front of Link, and there is actually a deeper meaning behind why that is. So without further ado, let's take a look into the sad truth behind the tragic death of the Garo Master in Majora's Mask. Growing up, I didn't actually play Majora's Mask that much. It's probably the Zelda game that I've actually played the least overall, but over the past few years, I've regained interest in the game. As I grew older, I became more of a fan of the darker installments and themes in the Zelda series. As many of you may know, the Stone Tower Temple is the 4th dungeon in Majora's Mask, and this is where we meet the Garo Master, the leader and commander of the Garo people. I describe him like this because there are other Garo fighters found in the dungeon and in the game, but they are in the lower ranks of the Garo people. They can be found wearing more basic grey cloaks, contrary to the Garo Master, dressed in a large, wide purple cloak, along with an emotionless gold mask that strikes a chilling resemblance to a plague doctor's mask, and is also equipped with 2 ignited sabers. He's described as a ninja-like foe, and by just taking a look at his fighting ability and strategy, you can see why he is described as the former. Upon entering one of the rooms within the dungeon, we look up to a hole in the ceiling, and see the Garo Master watching over us, preying on us like an animal stalking its prey. He then leaps down to meet Link eye to eye, engaging us into an intense and very sudden battle. A few things we can take notes on from the battle is that the Garo Master is extremely quick, agile, and highly intelligent. He even has the ability to sort of vanish by leaping into the air in order to avoid attacks from Link. Although that defensive move also doubles as an attack, as he then proceeds to skydive down onto Link. Eventually, Link can defeat the Garo Master, but unlike the average enemy that would typically just burst into a purple or black cloud of dusty malice, the Garo Master actually doesn't die then and there. Rather, after dealing enough blows to the Master... Oh wait, that sounds wrong. After dealing enough damage to the Garo Master, he will freeze up and then stop attacking. He begins to talk to Link, and this is where it gets very interesting. He begins by saying the following.
To think I could be defeated. Although you are my rival, you are spectacular. I shall dig my final bow by opening my heart and revealing my wisdom. If you shoot that which burns with a sacred gold light into the glowing red emblem outside the temple, the world shall be rearranged so that the earth is born in the heavens and the moon is born on the earth. Do not forget these words. Die I shall, leaving no corpse. That is the law of the Garo.
If we analyze and break down the text bit by bit, we can discover a few things. He begins by admitting defeat and openly saying Link was at his best, and because Link was so good, the Garo Master admires that, resulting in him passing on his knowledge to Link in order to help him on his quest. He then gives Link a tip for progressing through the dungeon. Then, here is where it gets deep. He marks his final words and states that he has indeed been defeated, but will not leave the remains to show for it. Following that, he pulls out a bomb and blows himself up right in front of Link's eyes. We then hear an echoing whisper stating that the end of the Garo Master's life is the way of the Garo. Immediately, the first out there piece of information about him, and his people for that matter, is that the Garo are very noble and respectful. They know when they have been defeated and actually admire their opponent being better than them. But the big question here is, why did they blow themselves up following this? Well, rather than this just being a way of not allowing Link to end them himself, it's actually a take on a form of an ancient Japanese samurai ritual known as seppuku. This is something that Japanese samurai would commonly do voluntarily, so they could die with honour and not fall to the hands of their enemy. Now, the most common form of this ancient ritual is very gory to say the least. It consists of ending the life of the samurai by disembowelment, which in short is abdominal belly cutting, which often results in rapid blood loss. Now, I'm not going to go much further into the details of this as it's pretty bloody. In the game, we don't see this form of seppuku, as you would expect from a Nintendo game. But the ritual isn't limited to just that form from what I could find from my research. According to my findings, the main purpose of this ritual is to ensure that they die with honour and not fall to their enemy, as mentioned already. Which is exactly what we see in the game. The Garo Master knows he is done for and has come to terms that Link will end him if he keeps going. Therefore, he decides to stop the battle and end his life on his own terms, and in very honourable fashion as he even helps Link out, admitting and making Link the superior one. Playing Majora's Mask as a kid, this sort of thing wouldn't even occur to me, and it didn't nowadays either, if I'm being totally honest. I was actually reading an online forum full of obscure Zelda facts, which if I can find, I will definitely link below. I did some research following that and found out it's actually true. For a Nintendo game, despite the fact that it's one of, if not their darkest, it's pretty mad to think that a ritual like this would make it into the game in some form. Granted, it's not the usual method of seppuku, it's still the same ritual and basic principles behind it. This still begs the question, however, just why was this much depth included to such an everyday enemy? Well, honestly, it's a really obscure thing to do a take on if you think about it, but for Majora's Mask's case, it actually makes some sense. The game was made to be dark, and it definitely succeeded in being dark. However, the reasons most of us see it as a quote-unquote dark game is due to the standout factors such as the impending moon crash that will end the world, the grieving characters we meet on our travels, the dark themes of life and death found all throughout the game, and even the backstory of the main antagonist, Skull Kid himself, just wanting some friends to play with, but getting sucked in to be Majora's puppet. With a little bit of digging, we can find further reasons for the game being so dark, with the Garo Master's death being a fantastic example of the depth to the darkness of this game. It highlights just how much thought went into ensuring the game was gruesome and terrifying, which in my opinion, you really have to admire. The Garo Master is just an enemy in the game, but the developers gave him some life, something we can actually relate to on a human level, or more so just feel emotionally. They took the ancient samurai ritual and implemented it into one of their enemies. The Garo Master shares the traits of having a huge focus on honour, respect, and most notably, his death. Exactly like the seppuku ritual. The only question really remaining is, why? Why use that ritual? Well, I couldn't find any official answers from the developers, but I wasn't really expecting to find any anyway. Considering the game was made by a Japanese company, Nintendo, it's not too far of a stretch to say that they implemented some history from their homeland into the game. Even before Majora's Mask was a thing, this was a common practice in video games. Ocarina of Time, which came out just around a year earlier, and this practice was still present, with multiple connections to Japanese history and life being in the game. To sort of conclude the video, I believe it's fair to say that the explanation to the Garo Master's death is that Nintendo took the seppuku ritual, used a more child-friendly form of it, if you can consider blowing yourself up child-friendly, and on the sly implemented it into the death of the Garo Master. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed. What do you think about this deeper meaning behind the death of the Garo Master in Majora's Mask? Although this may have been a very obscure and small topic to some, it's something that really fascinated me and I just couldn't resist talking about. I personally find it quite chilling that the game has that much depth to it. Let me know your thoughts and maybe even some stuff you find truly dark about Majora's Mask in the comments. A huge thanks goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters, as your generous support really helps me to keep making these videos as often as possible. So special thanks to Hexovian, Leonarco1, Katala, Karika, Saphira Sky, Daniel Kilman, Neroslove13, Barky Doggo, Arlie Quinn, M, Chris Simpson, Andrew, Brett Harris, and Nehru. It really is heartwarming to see so much support, and I can't say it enough, but thank you so much. Again, I really hope you all enjoyed the video, and until the next time, I've been Hyro Gamer.